My mother made that dress, Shirley. I mean, it's great.
Your mom made that dress, huh?
She took me to Kirchner's material place, and it's embroidery, see, and it's got a tunic on it. And she made the whole thing, and she brought my gloves along and got my ribbon and all that. And my hair, she could just run around my finger. I'd always have curls, you know, and it don't look too good. But this year, she just put on my finger and pulled curls off, you know. So it don't look too bad.
What do you think when you look at that picture?
Oh, I think of my childhood, you know. And, I was 13, and I used to I loved school. I loved to sew. I took cooking. I took sewing. I took everything.
My grandmother's house is still there, but it isn't the same. A plain wooden cottage, a patch of brown lawn, and a fence that hangs bending and sighing in the Seattle rain. I drive by with strangers and wish they could see what I see. A tangle of summer birds flying in sunlight, a forest of lilies, an orchard of apricot trees, secret gardens of the heart, where the flowers bloom forever. I see you shining through the night in the ice and snow of winter. Great-grandfather's farm is still there, but it isn't the same. The barn is torn down and the fences are gone. The Idaho wind blows the topsoil away every spring. I still see the ghosts of the people I knew long ago. Inside the old kitchen, they bend and they sigh. My life passed them up, and the world in its way passed them by. Secret gardens of the heart, where the old stay young forever. I see you shining through the night in the ice and snow of winter. But most of all, it is me that has changed, and yet still I'm the same. That's me at the was me at the graves, dressed like the people who once looked so grown up and brave. I look in the mirror through the eyes of the child that was me. I see willows bending, the season is spring, and the silver blue sailing birds fly with the sun on their wings. Secret gardens of the heart, where the seasons change forever. I see you shining through the night in the ice and snow of winter.
So today is a pretty important day for us, and I'd like to introduce my grandmother, who's going to come and have a seat now, and come and join me, and we're just going to talk a little bit. This is Hazel Kukuk, and she's 92 years old today, or Christmas Day. She's 92, and you just come on over here, Graham.
Okay.
Looking pretty good there for 92. How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm fine. I feel about 39.
Sort of,
Good answer,
sort of
Mom.
like Jack Benny, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
Jack Benny days.
Jack, do you remember the Jack Benny days, eh?
Oh yeah, I used to watch all his movies.
Well, what I want to ask you about first is, you're 92.
Yeah,
You were around when the airplane was first invented.
yeah,
You were around when a lot of people didn't have telephones,
yeah.
when people didn't have electric lighting, when people didn't have plumbing. So much has happened in the last 92 years. What I want to ask you is, in your opinion, what do you think is the greatest thing that's happened in the last 92 years? The greatest invention?
Well, gee, I don't know. All this stuff that they're doing now shocks me.
Kind of shocks you, huh? Microwaves, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I have one which I love real good, and
Now, when you were a little girl, you used a wood-burning stove.
oh yeah, my mother had a big white mammal range, you know. The hot water would be on the side. You just go and dip it out in the morning to get washed. Big bowl like that, a pitcher, all that stuff.
Can you, why
And
don't you
it's outside toilets.
outside? So, indoor toilets was a big deal.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful.
Well, you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like in Detroit with your parents, having 13 children in your family?
Hmm.
What was that like?
It was wonderful. I loved every one of them.
What did your dad do for a living?
He was a lace maker. He'd make lasses to make shoes.
Glasses for shoes.
A lace for shoes he used to make.
Okay. Okay. And what about your mom?
Well, my mom was a real mother. She done everything. She crocheted, she knitted, she done everything. She used to do ironing for Fred Sanders. She do all their ironing for him.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, then they wear those great big white petticoats, all starched. She used to do that.
You used to tell stories about Christmas morning and all the chairs lined up?
Oh yeah, all our stuff would be, each one had a chair.
Uh-huh.
And all our stuff would be on. We had new hair ribbon, new shoes, and she made us a new dress. And she did us hats like I gave Tiffany, like bonnets, you know. We got everything new. We had everything. But everything was made. You didn't buy a thing.
All the stuff was handmade back then, huh? Yeah. Now, you had 13 brothers and sisters, and your one brother
Oh,
died.
One died, yeah.
One died.
Yeah.
What is the story of that? What happened there?
He died, he had whooping cough, and then they never had no serums years ago, remember? And he just coughed and choked to death.
But you also had a brother who died from an automobile accident
Yeah,
when he
Donald.
was 19.
19 years old. It was Christmas Eve, and he was all dressed up, ready to go to pick up his boyfriend. He stepped off the curb, and he got killed, walking over there. And they never found the ones that, they found a part of a car door, but they never could face it who did it. 19 years old. Yeah, that was terrible. Right on Christmas Eve. And then he laid in a church right by all the flowers and everything, the caskets, you know, all Christmas Eve. Oh, it was terrible. Oh yeah, I went through a lot in my 92 years.
You went through a lot.
I had a wonderful childhood, though, real good. I could live it over.
Is there anything else that you want to say? What would you want to say to people about your childhood?
It was perfect. I loved it because we had a mother that was with us and stuck with us all the time. Taught us how to sing, how to do everything. She sang in the choir. And we all sit on her rocker and, you know, around her and sing with her. And, you know, she was a real good mother. Well, my dad worked hard, though, to feed a big family like that. We used to have our home that had, you know, the pickup door for the basement.
Root cellar?
Yeah, and you
Uh-huh.
had to pick up the thing and, you know, raise it up to get up. And that was just wonderful. All the food was down there, all the, like my mother canned. 200 cans of food
Wow.
for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then raise it all too, have a garden.
Now, what about, how did you all eat? Did you all eat together at one big table? Or
Always. Always together.
all 12 of you?
My dad had all hooks around the kitchen where you hung your coat up when you come in. You know how they did years ago. And you had to hang your coat up too, boy. You didn't throw it down in a chair like some of the kids do.
You had to take good care of those
Oh,
clothes back
yeah.
then. Right.
We all had to do our share. My brothers had to wash all the pans and we had to wash all the dishes.
Now, tell me a little bit about your work you worked for a comb factory and Fred Sanders. What did you all do there? What was that about?
Oh, I worked for Fred Sanders. I was a chocolate dipper.
And how old were you then?
I was 17.
17. So that's 1919.
And then there was an old maid lady that was a forelady there. And she asked me one day, she says, would you like to learn how to dip? And I said, oh, I sure would, on our lunch hour, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then she taught me. It was one of their best dippers. I don't know why, I have pictures of me, but I don't know who's got them. One of my sisters, maybe Ruth's got them, I don't know.
Of you
I don't
being
know,
a
I gave
chocolate
them all
dipper?
away. I
You-
could show you then, I was 17.
Yeah.
And then when the war was over,
The First World War?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
then I made all velvet tams, you know. You had a white pomp on it.
You mean you sold
Yeah.
those, or?
So I made them for myself, then the girls liked them, they all wanted one, so all my friends, the chocolate dippers, I made them all one. And then we all went out in a great big truck with Fred Sanders,
Huh?
and went right down Woodward and
With
they
Fred
come-
Sanders?
Yeah, he came in, he says, everybody stop walking, we're going out for a ride. He put us all in a big truck, and says, the war is over. And they all went out Woodward Avenue, shaking our hands, and they got all these white tams on. Oh, I wish I had all those pictures, but I don't know where they are. I'm not like my son and my daughter-in-law, they take good care of their pictures. Mine is in a great big box, but I have to show you them someday. There's some old ones there.
But you also remember when pictures were far and few, where you had to go and have your picture taken, right?
Years
At the
ago,
studio?
the people didn't spend all the money, they didn't have it to buy all the stuff, you know?
Right.
So they didn't take pictures. But they took some, because a photographer lived out right the next block over, and he was my father's best friend, so every little while he'd take pictures of us, you know. That's the ones you got.
Yeah. Now, how'd you meet Grandpa?
Oh, his aunt lived next door to my mother and us. And so she had an open house party on Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve. And so he came over, and that's how I met him.
Okay.
Yeah, because she was a real nice part. They helped one another always, you know. When they had baby or something, they'd come over and take care of them and all that kind of stuff.
What can you tell me a little bit about your wedding?
Well, I got married in church, and I had a real nice wedding.
And you were how old?
20.
You were 20 years old.
And
how old was Grandpa when you got married?
he was 24.
24. And you had a big wedding?
At Hogue we had a wedding. On the day I got married, I went down, walked all the way down about 12 blocks to the creamery and got the cream for the coffee the morning before my wedding. Nobody had cars or nothing, and I just did it.
What about, did you make your wedding dress, or did your mother, or you bought it, or?
We made it. My cousin was like an old maid already. She never married. And she made my headpiece and that thing that's on the bottom of my dress. It looks old-fashioned now, but it was cute then, you know. She made all that for me.
And kind of in sticking with Grandpa, I'm just wondering what you can tell me about his involvement in the war and
Well, he was wounded in both his arms.
what happened there.
But he could use his arms. He used to paint the ceilings and everything. But his, well, he was on guard duty. And he's walking, and there's no lights or nothing, and he's walking, watching guard, and all of a sudden somebody was up in a tree, a sniper, and he shot him in the arm.
Oh.
And then he was in the hospital for 6 months, and he got better. And then he had to go back on guard duty, and he got shot right away again. But the other arm didn't shoot the muscle. They put a muscle in his arm, you know. The other one didn't get hurt much, just glazed his arm, you know. So then he was in the First World War. And I had his picture when he was getting the Purple Heart. Did I ever show you the Purple Heart?
Yeah.
And they took pictures of him and everything, but I don't know where the pictures are. It seems like if we moved away out of there and I put him somewhere under something, I can't find him. That awful. I got all excited when he passed away, and I guess I just didn't think it then.
Okay.
But I'm sorry now, I got the Purple Heart though.
One thing, Graham, as we talk, we need to talk just a little bit louder.
Oh,
so
okay.
that and so it might help if you talk, if you just look in that direction when you talk, and talk just a little bit louder. Okay. Okay. So Grandpa came home from the war. He had a Purple Heart, and it wasn't long after that the Great Depression hit.
Oh yeah, we went all through the Depression.
Now, what was that all about?
Oh, the banks closed and you couldn't get your money, and the coal yards they were all closed. We had to take a coaster wagon and take our 2 little kids for a ride and go way down to Connors and buy 2 bushel at a time.
Wow.
That's what we had to do, really. Or else you freeze to death.
And you were raising 2 small children at that time.
Oh yeah, let's see, your dad was about 3 and Jerry was about 5. You put them in a coaster wagon.
And go down and get the coal, huh? Boy. What else do you remember about the Great Depression?
Well, you had to stand in line to get butter. You get a quarter of a pound sometime. And you had everything was all rationed, you know.
Yeah.
And then they gave us my dad had money, I don't know what they gave you those, what do you call that money they give you when you...
Like your food stamps and stuff like that? Or
Well,
special?
they were food stamps, you used it for money
Okay.
till the banks opened, you know.
Okay.
But we had to wait for that. Everything was stand in line, stand in line. I'll
Yeah.
never forget that.
That was a rough time.
But I used to know my butcher and he sent me a pound of butter, you know. As I bought everything. And then you had to go to grocery and have, ask for credit. They give you a book and then, but my dad was a real honest, paid his bills, you know. So the grocery man was real good. We were happy. We had all of us, we were all together, that meant a whole lot, you know.
Right. Now, the last time that you and I made a tape was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And in there, I asked you the question, who was, in your mind, the greatest president that ever lived during your lifetime? Do you remember what you said?
I think President Roosevelt, he's the one that got the Social Security for us.
Yeah.
I think he was the best president.
He got you out of the Depression.
That's what he did. They had at AWA or whatever it is, they went to work, the men, for jobs. Grandpa went right to the gas company and he had to go down in the ground and fix pipes and all that stuff. And they gave you that much an hour and that's how you lived. And then all of a sudden it came up and you know, everything got opened up.
The economy got
It
better.
was beautiful, oh, just beautiful.
Yeah. You really liked
Then they start giving,
you really have a lot of wonderful feelings about President Roosevelt.
oh, I do. We were sitting in a show, we went all to the show, the show was only 15 cents those years. So we all goes to show on Monday night, and all of a sudden they said, it was election night, that's what it was. Said, President Roosevelt won. Oh God, everybody was clapping their hands and they were so glad. I thought it was just wonderful. Some was crying, some was laughing.
We're all so happy.
So that was my best president. Which is your one,
Now-
the best one you like?
In my lifetime? Well, that's kind of hard to say, I think.
You didn't like Bush?
Not very well.
No?
Not too much.
Well, I don't know.
Actually, I think that I have a lot of respect for Jimmy Carter right now, and all
Oh,
what
he
he's
was
doing,
wonderful, yeah.
and what he's doing now.
Yeah.
I think I have more respect probably for Jimmy Carter than most of the other presidents.
Yeah.
But I think that the presidency is not the way it used to be when you were younger. So now, okay, so you got out of the Great Depression. Your children were growing up, and then World War II hit. And your son was old enough to go in World War II.
Yeah, and he was only 18 years old. And him and his dad talked about it. He said, Dad, we were waiting for the paper to come the next day to tell whether they're going to draft the 18-year-olds.
A little louder,
And he
please.
said, if they draft me, I'm going to join the Marines. So he enlisted then, you know. Do you remember that, Art?
I sure did. I enlisted at 19.
And then we took him down to the train. Well, you went on a limousine, remember? All you
No, took us on a bus to the train and the train
Yeah.
to California.
We went on a streetcar down there though. And we came home, I had my hat on, I went right to bed. I was crying, and I had my hat on.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it. That was terrible. Yeah, we didn't see him for 3 years. He had no furlough, no nothing. Them days it was like that, you know. We didn't get, well, the war was real bad. They had to have them that way, you know.
And then tell me the story of Dad coming home from the war and how you
Oh.
heard about that and what was going on then.
Oh, that was.
Like, how did you find out he was coming home or the war was over?
Well, he didn't tell us till the last minute. And then he even came home, we didn't go to get him or nothing. He said, how did you get home, Art?
Dad, why don't you come on and you take over my seat for a minute and the two of you talk about what happened at the war, just for a minute. And I'll come and join you. This is my dad.
Well, I called you from California. Remember, told you I
Yeah.
was getting discharged. And I said I'll be home shortly.
Yeah?
And I came into Detroit by myself. And I got...
Nobody to meet him, isn't that awful?
I didn't want nobody to meet me.
No,
I
we
wanted to
had
come
to
home
cut.
and surprise you when I
Yeah.
got out. And I got all cleaned up and ate a little bit. I got in the cab and came home.
And he was.
And when I pulled up in the cab, you were
Remember I
Seen
was,
me coming at the door, and
yeah, I was,
she came out and,
have you got that card where I got a house, a dress on and an apron, my apron, and I'm standing right out down there when you were coming out?
yeah, when I come home in the
Have
cab,
you got that
came-
picture?
No, no.
And
Well,
then-
why don't you talk a little bit about that day? Because remember,
Well,
you were
that day,
surprised, and then
he
what
used to
happened?
love pork chops and corn, and I had that day. And I didn't even know he was coming home. And I had that kind of meal. And my daughter just came home from work, and she hid somewhere. didn't
I
she?
hid and surprised her.
He hid.
By
And
the
when
by
she
the
come
stove,
out, he
over by the
scared her.
stove.
And I had the table set for 4, and she said, well, how come you got 4 on the table? And I said, and then he jumped out. Boy, what a shock that was.
She's surprised, eh?
Yeah, he was laughing and crying and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful day, and he never got hurt. That's what was a need, what meant a lot that he didn't get wounded or anything like his dad did, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I get a pension, and the man that always took care of that, he's retiring. So I had to pick out different people, like they give attorneys for me, I got a letter. And I can pick any one of these things that I want. So I picked the Purple Heart. So they gotta take care of me now and let me know what they're gonna do if I lose my pension or if I get it. But my husband's shot in both his arms. I think he should get his pension, don't you?
He has,
Well,
Mom.
but this girl that's working at our place now, she filled it all out for me, and she said, did you just wait till it was just like he came back to earth, you know? I got the Bible that I still had. We'll never forget it.
That's for sure, baby.
I still have the Bible that I read every day. It's all, all pieces. I didn't want to cry, but I can't
No,
help it.
that's okay, don't worry about it.
Well, that's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah. I went through a lot in 90, but listen, God was
Thanks, Dad.
wonderful to me.
Yep.
You've been
He gave me my health. I never took a pill or nothing. I didn't even have a doctor, but I gotta get one, you know, because you should have a doctor. Isn't that crazy? There's a lot of doctors around me, and I don't like none of them. Well, the first thing you do is write out a prescription for about $30, and I'm not sick.
Well, let me ask you this, what do you attribute all this great health? I mean, you're 92 and you look wonderful.
But
You look wonderful.
I eat right, and I do what I'm supposed to do. I don't run around or anything like that. I go to Bingo, but I go right in my building. I don't even have to go out. No, that last 12 years, I got to give Uncle Bill credit for that. He called me up once and he says, Grandma, he said they're going to start building a senior citizen place in Sterling Heights. And he said, you're getting older, and he said, you won't be able to do all your work in that in your house. He says, why don't you go and try and make an application out and go and see it. So I did. I got dressed and he took me. He stayed all day with me, and we filled out the papers. And he went right home with me in my mobile home and helped me fill them. And he went right to the post office and mailed them. And the following Monday I got called. I was the first one in the building.
And you've had a
And I can
wonderful
thank
12 years.
Dolores and Bill for that. She kept calling me up when my time would come to move, and she said, call me up. She says, Hazel, you can't move today because they didn't inspect the building yet, and they don't want to have anybody to move in until it's all inspected, And the following Monday I got called. I was the first one in the building.
And you've had a
And I can
wonderful
thank
12 years.
Dolores and Bill for that. She kept calling me up when my time would come to move, and she said, call me up. She says, Hazel, you can't move today because they didn't inspect the building yet, and they don't want to have anybody to move in until it's all inspected, And I was living in a mobile home. I bought a new mattress, and in about 2 weeks I had to go back and forth on that mattress to get through. And I kept one cup out and, you know, knife and fork and spoon. It was really awful. But boy, when I got in there, I got my 5 grandchildren together. They all drove in one car, and they each took their car, and they all helped. I remember your dad, he took all my clothes in his car, and Bill took a truck, and he took a lot of stuff. And it's 5 kids, the 5 grandchildren all helped. You was there too.
I know I was there. Now
And,
you have,
And by 5 o'clock, we were all moved in and put up my bed. Jerry, she cut all the boxes up and straightened it all up. Everybody helped, and I went to bed. It was wonderful. And that's where I live today, yeah.
and you're very happy there, aren't you?
Yeah, oh, I love it there. It's just wonderful. And if you can do still take care of yourself, you know, you like to stay alone. But when the time comes, you don't, then I don't know what will happen. But I don't think of that. I don't worry about that because you never know. Who knows? Nobody knows.
Grandma, you had mentioned to me that one thing that you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about in this tape was you wanted to mention some things about Aunt Jerry, your daughter. And so I wanted to give you a moment to say, what would you like to say about,
I say she's a wonderful girl to me. I know we love one another real good, and I miss her real bad, you know. But she has to go where her husband goes. And I down in my heart, I would love to go to visit her. She feels bad that I don't, you know. But I couldn't go. And I cracked my 2 ribs, I had to stay home.
when you cracked your 2 ribs, you had to
But
stay home.
anyhow, she was wonderful. Both of my children. Never caused me a bit of trouble. So I got lots to be thankful for. I think that's what made my life like it is, you know. Because I know a lot of children come to there and they're so mean to their mother. They say hurry up and all that stuff, you know. And they never done that to me, and that means a lot.
Taking good care of you.
Huh?
Taking good care of you.
That's right. That's what helps, you know.
Yeah. Now, Grandma, you have 5 grandchildren, and how many great-grandchildren?
I got 9, let's see, I got 10 great-grandchildren.
And then you have some great
And I got
great-grandchildren.
2 great-grandchildren. 2, that would be the, Heather's, got her daughter's, yeah, she's got 2 children. And then little Matthew is great-grandchild too. So that's 3 great-grandchildren. Great-great-grandchildren.
Wow. Well, you know, one of your great-grandchildren is here today, Christmas.
God was so good to me, you know.
Yeah.
That's
What is one thing that, in closing, that you'd like to say to who's ever listening to this tape about your life? What would you like them to know? What would you like to say?
I loved my whole life. With 12 brothers and sisters, I loved them. And I loved them all. They're all gone now except 2 brothers and a sister. But they're sick. You know, they have sugar. But I call them out. They call me on a phone, and I call them on a phone. We talk all the time. But we can't see each other. But I think Ruth is going to try to have Barbara bring her over, she said, maybe, to see my tree. And I'd be glad if she would, you know.
Good.
It'd be nice.
Okay.
No, I don't like this.
This was wonderful.
It is.
This was wonderful having you,
Yeah.
share all this with us today.
Well, that'd be nice. When I'm all gone, dead and buried, then you can put the tape on me.
And Grandma will be around, huh? Well, we love you.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay. Are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, mine,